How are you doing? What was your name?
Amanda.
Amanda. And what was the transplant that you got?
I had a double lung transplant.
Perfect. How old were you when you had that?
17 months old.
And what was that like for you? Do you remember any of it?
Luckily, I have no remembrance of it whatsoever.
That must
My
be.
parents, however, I think they kind of, like, had it doubled for them. I don't put all my stress onto them that I don't have to worry about.
Yeah. So you have no memory of what it was like in the hospital when you had the transplant. Has your parents told stories about it?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't. They talk about it, but not too in depthly. But yeah, they would say that I would have to stay in when I. There's a point where I was staying in the oxygen. I had to stay in an oxygen tent, and they always knew which room was mine from down the hall, just because the oxygen was cranked up so high, and they could just hear it so far away. But
Jeez.
they said they were in the hospital, I think, for 6 months waiting for my transplant.
That's not too bad. 6 months?
Yeah, relatively fast, especially for back then.
Yeah, especially.
Back in '98.
So you got your transplant in 1998.
Yes.
Right. And do you have an idea of what kind of impact that took on your family?
Oh, absolutely. My mom and dad both had, because at the time, since I was so young, there's very few hospitals that were doing lung transplants or transplants in general on children. So we live in New York, and we actually had to fly out to Missouri, which is basically halfway across the country. So they had to. My mom had just gotten a teaching job, and she had to leave that. My dad had to leave his job. They basically had to pack up their entire lives and move across the country for me. Yeah, so put a lot of stress on them, and I know that back home, a lot of organizations had like fundraisers for them to like help them with that during that. But yeah, definitely a very stressful time for them.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Having the transplant at such a young age, how old were you when you had the transplant?
I was 17.
17 months old, yeah. So you grew up with the transplant and don't have a recollection like a lot of recipients I know and speak to. They can talk about a pre and post because it's very vivid in their mind, but you have no pre or post kind of thoughts or life before. So what has your life been like, strictly from the transplant to where you are right now?
Well, I mean, this is my only normal that I know. To
Right.
me, I've always had limitations. They have increased a little bit more now that I'm older because of everything that goes on with an aging transplanted organ with rejection and whatnot. But yeah, growing up, I could pretty much keep up with everyone. I did dance and gymnastics pretty much my whole life up until high school. I would just maybe need to take breaks a little bit more often, and then just like going to doctors at least once a month was routine for me. But I thought it was fun. I got to get off school, so
That's the best part.
yeah. I don't know. It's hard to compare like or say how my life is different because I don't really know what else I don't know another life. Like so when people say like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for you," it's like there's nothing really to be sorry about. This is all I know. It's not a bad thing. It's not like my life. I don't know. It's just it's overall a good thing.
It is. I mean,
It's the only one really.
well, one of the benefits that I found is that if you only know one thing throughout your entire life, then you have nothing to go back to and be like, oh, well, that's the way I used to be, and this is the way I am now. Like this, it's because it's all you know. It's not that big of a deal for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not really mourning anything. Really.
Yeah, exactly. It's just simplicity all the way through, and it's because I had
What,
the
what I know, like
yeah, I was very similar. 3.5 had the transplant, and it's all I knew as well.
yeah.
How is your life now? What are you doing now in life post transplant?
What was it? Post transplant.
Yeah.
Probably I'm trying to live as normal of a life as I can.
Hmm?
Like I go to school full time and I work part time. I do what I can. To me, technically, for my body, I work full time because there's only so much that I can handle. I work about 20 hours a week. But yeah, I'm going to school to become basically a medical coder, and so that's really what my life consists of right now. Like I said, I just ended the semester, so I'm on summer break. Really just focusing on being everything. Uh, working.
Just working and going out
So
there.
nothing that exciting right now.
Are you
Kind of in
staying?
the middle of making things happen.
That's great though. I mean, you're progressively getting to where you want to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting out? You're staying active and everything as well?
Yep, I actually recently this year started going to the gym, so I've been going to the gym like four times a week if I can.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. How is that on your lungs?
It's I definitely have to take more breaks, do things a little bit slower. Like I go with my cousin, so she kind of moves along a little bit faster than I do. But I've noticed a little bit of improvements, and it's nice. It's hard because things are obviously harder on me, but it's just making your own adjustments, like taking breaks, maybe like only doing certain things. But overall, I'm just making it work for myself.
That's amazing. So you're able to adapt completely to everything that's going on.
Yes.
I noticed that you have a few tattoos as well.
Oh yeah, I have more than a few.
More than a
They're all
few.
kind of little and hidden.
That's fair. Did you have any problems getting the tattoos? Did your doctor say anything about it?
That's kind of funny. I've always wanted tattoos, so right before when I went to, cause I see my actual transplant doctors in Missouri. I only see them once a year now. So like the visit before I turned 18, I asked them like, so is it okay for me to get tattoos? Like I just want to make sure that everything's clear. And my doctor was like, he's an old-fashioned guy. He's like, I mean, if you want them, honestly, as much as it pains me to say, as long as everything's safe and you let them know ahead of time, even though all the protocols should be fine, you're fine. So that's like one of the happiest things that I've ever seen.
Well, you get to be like, yes, I can throw tattoos everywhere.
But yeah, and even when I was like a teenager, when I wanted to get my ears pierced, I had to call my doctor and make sure that it would have been okay, give me the approval for that too.
Do you go through your doctors for a lot of the things you do for approval before you do it?
Yeah, I used to more when I was younger because I would encounter more things that I wasn't sure about. But yeah, like a lot of times if I'm unsure about something, I go right to my doctor.
That's good. Do you still have restrictions in place to try to prevent you from going back into rejection?
Yeah. Well, first of all, like obviously taking all your meds on time, and not forgetting those. Like immunosuppressants. So doing all that, but also like just practicing overall would help. Obviously not smoking. Obviously staying away from people who engage in that. Like other things, like staying away from like any kind of fungus or bacteria there might be. Like if someone's sick in my house, automatically either I'm on lockdown or they're on lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I get sick, especially if it's like a respiratory infection, it can damage my lungs more. And I've actually been diagnosed with chronic rejection. But the last step that my team and I decided to do, they enrolled me in. I'm doing radiation treatments, but it's like through my blood. It's called photophoresis, where they draw my blood, they hook my IV up to this machine, it takes out my blood, separates it in the centrifuge, and the red blood cells immediately go back into my body, but all the white blood cells collect, and then those are treated with radiation, and then put back in my body. And apparently, for some reason, it's actually used for leukemia, but it also helps pause rejection in transplants. And I think I've been doing it for a year now. I go bi-weekly, and I used to go bi-weekly, now I go every other week, so bi-monthly. But I've noticed an incredible difference. It's supposed to just pause you and keep where you are, not necessarily reverse the effects of the rejection. But in very few cases it does that, and I think it's doing that with me because this is the first year that I didn't notice myself having an even lower endurance or feeling even more sick, and my tests have improved, and my tests have gone up a little bit too. So I think it's overall working really, really well.
That's good.
Getting the best results that we could ask for.
That's amazing. So we talked previously a few years back. Where are you now compared to where you were back then?
I'm a lot better. Back then, said, every year I would notice a little bit of a, well, more than a little bit of a decrease in my endurance and what I could do. Like a couple of years ago, I would just walking up one flight of stairs, I would have to immediately sit back down and like rest for a minute to like regain my breath. But now I'm like running on the treadmill for like 5 minutes. Well, running on the treadmill for 5 minutes.
Our
And,
idea
like,
of running.
and I used to, about, not even a year ago, probably, maybe like 6 months ago, I was using oxygen when I was walking, but now, like I said, I can go walk in a park, not eat anything for the most part. So I'm at a really good level right now. Seems to be going a little bit up instead of going down.
That's good though, as long as you're kind of going on a steady incline towards health and not on a decline.
Me either want a plateau or an incline.
Well, either or, as long as it's not going downhill, right? Have you done a lot of traveling, or do you want to do a lot of traveling? What are kind of the things you want to do going like 5 or 10 years down the road?
I want to. I was actually, this is what I'm trying to, the reason why I'm working out is I'm trying to save up money to eventually travel. I haven't, the farthest place that I've gone is just like Florida, which is just down the East Coast. The only other country I've been to is Canada because it's 2 hours away from me. We just drive over there.
Right.
But yeah, I want to go to France someday, and I was actually looking up and trying to price it all out, and hopefully doing that next year eventually, or just at least going to Europe and exploring it, because that's something that I've wanted to do my entire life, and I've always had the like limitations as, oh, what if I get there, but I get like, I'm too tired or too sick to like go and actually do things. But now that my health is at a very good place, it's making me want to go out and do more things like that.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
What about relationship-wise and stuff like that? How is that for you?
I mean, I'm single, but like, I've been in relationships for years, and it's never really been an issue. It's really nice when someone takes an interest in my health and like actually wants to know more, instead of just me like telling them, being like, oh, okay. But when they like ask questions and want to get to know more about it and actually learn about it, that's something that's really important to me in a relationship.
Yeah. One last question, and it's something that you've probably been asked a couple times, but if you could meet your donor's family, what would you say to them?
Well, obviously, you have to say thank you. Apologize for their loss. My donor was a child around the same age as me, so probably a year and a half. I'd tell them all the things that I've accomplished in my life and just make them realize that it's because of their choice to have their child's organs donated, and that just want to like push forward the message that you saved a life by doing that, and like look at all the things that you made happen, and just really, really just give them all the things that we can. My mom actually wrote them a letter when I had my transplant, and unfortunately she never heard anything back, but if I ever got the chance to meet them, I 100% would.
That'd be really good. And what would you tell people all around the world about organ donation?
You should just sign up. Like, I take any chance that I can to bring up becoming an organ donor. I normally tell them there's over 120,000 people on the list right now in the U.S., but only, what was it, like 13,000 people? 30,000 people signed up as organ donors. I'm not entirely sure, I don't remember that number, but basically, everyone says they agree with organ donation, but not a lot of people actually take the step to sign up, but it's so easy. It takes literally 2 minutes. And if your organs are good enough, you might not only save one life, you can actually save up to 75 lives if you donate your entire body, so all your organs, your skin, your corneas. It really adds up, and you can make way more of an impact than you probably realize just by donating your organs to your body. And so you don't need it anymore, so why not give it to someone else who does?